No alarms sounded on Earth when the alien fleets arrived. No warning sirens screamed. No last message was sent to the stars. Because by the time humanity realized they were surrounded, it was already too late for the invaders. High above Earth, space bent under the weight of impossible numbers. Thousands of alien warships slid into position with perfect precision, forming a glowing ring around the planet. From orbit, Earth looked small, fragile, quiet. A soft blue world trapped inside a steel cage. Supreme Commander Vila Kyn observed the planet from the bridge of the flagship Obsidian Crown. His species, the Ravix Dominion, had conquered worlds for nearly 1,000 years. Their doctrine was simple: overwhelm, isolate, harvest. No negotiations longer than one cycle. No mercy beyond usefulness. Confirm perimeter, Vila said calmly. All fleets locked, replied his tactical officer. Zero gaps. Nothing enters. Nothing leaves. Vila allowed himself a slow breath of satisfaction. Earth was rich. Water. Biomass. Labor. The perfect prize. Begin broadcast, he ordered. Across Earth, screens flickered. Phones buzzed. Satellites relayed a single message in every known human language. People of Earth, Vila's voice echoed, cold and precise. You are surrounded by the Ravix Dominion. Resistance is irrelevant. Surrender within one rotation of your planet, and your species will be preserved. Refuse, and Earth will be dismantled. Then the signal ended. On the bridge, the Ravix crew waited for panic. They expected fear signals, frantic launches, desperate chatter. Instead, Earth remained quiet. Too quiet. Vila frowned. Scan planetary response. Minimal, the sensor officer said. No fleet mobilization. No missile launches. No energy spikes. Vila scoffed. Shock. It always looks like this at first. Below, on Earth, leaders gathered in underground chambers that did not appear on any Ravix scans. These rooms had no flags, no grand speeches. Only tired faces and steady voices. Admiral Elena Cross, head of Earth's Unified Defense Network, watched the orbital display in silence. The circle of enemy ships glowed like a noose. They think we're afraid, one officer said. Elena nodded. Good. She tapped a control panel. Across the planet, systems older than most nations quietly shifted states. No weapons powered up. No shields flared. Just subtle changes, buried deep. Status, she asked. All layers dormant, replied a technician. As planned. Elena leaned back. Humanity had learned long ago that showing strength invited destruction. Survival meant patience. Back in orbit, hours passed. No surrender came. Vila's irritation grew. They ignore us, he snapped. Send probes. Full planetary scan. Hundreds of Ravix drones detached and plunged toward Earth. They skimmed atmosphere, oceans, cities. They mapped storms and power grids and communication lines. Then the drones began to vanish. One by one, signals cut out. Explain, Vila demanded. No weapons fire detected, said the sensor officer. They simply stop reporting. Malfunctions. Statistically impossible. Vila stared at the planet. Increase scan depth. Penetrate crust. The scanners dug deeper. What they found made the bridge fall silent. Commander, whispered the science officer. There are structures beneath the surface. Massive ones. Not cities. Not bases. How many? All of them. Every continent. Every ocean. Interconnected networks buried kilometers deep. Power readings fluctuated, not rising, not falling. Waiting. This technology predates their spaceflight, the officer added. By centuries. Vila's mandibles tightened. Impossible. A species this young. A sudden tremor rippled through the fleet. Not an explosion. Not an attack. Space itself seemed to hesitate. Report. Navigation screens flooded with errors. Coordinates twisted. Distances contradicted themselves. Then something changed. The Ravik's outer patrol wing vanished. 12 ships. Gone. No debris. No energy burst. Just absence. What happened? Vila roared. We don't know, the tactical officer cried. They crossed an invisible boundary and disappeared. Before orders could be given, more ships vanished. Entire squadrons erased as if plucked from reality. Panic spread across the bridge. Pull back. Vila shouted. All ships retreat. They couldn't. Engines flared uselessly. The fleet was locked in place, held by forces that ignored mass and power. A transmission cut through the chaos. A human appeared on the main screen. A man in a simple uniform, no decorations, no fear. I'm Director Samuel Hayes, he said calmly. You surrounded Earth. Vila snarled. Release our ships. Hayes shook his head. You misunderstood something important. What? You didn't trap us, Hayes said. You volunteered. Behind him, screens showed diagrams of space folding inward, like a closing hand. For centuries, Hayes continued, we assumed the universe was hostile. So we prepared. Quietly. Patiently. We didn't build fleets. Vila felt something cold form in his core. We built boundaries. Another Ravik's battleship vanished. You came inside our perimeter, Hayes said. That was your mistake. The transmission ended. Above Earth, the Ravik's Dominion fleet hung in silence, trapped inside a cage they could not see. And deep beneath the planet's surface, systems that had never been used against an enemy began their first full activation. Humanity was done hiding. The hunt had begun. The Ravik's fleet did not panic all at once. At first, disbelief held them still. Supreme Commander Vila Kerwen stood frozen on the bridge of the Obsidian Crown, watching empty sensor markers blink where warships had once been. Entire squadrons were missing. No wreckage. No signals. No explosions. Just gone. This is a trick, Vila said, forcing his voice steady. Some kind of illusion. But the crew did not look convinced. They had fought dozens of wars. They knew what deception looked like. This felt different. This felt final. Run full spectrum analysis, Vila ordered. Quantum, dimensional, everything. The science team worked in frantic silence. Their screens filled with symbols, warnings, calculations that contradicted each other. Space itself behaved like a living thing, bending and tightening around the fleet. Commander, the lead scientist said slowly. We are not being attacked. Vila turned. Explain. We are inside a field, she said. A containment structure. It is passive. It reacts only when we move. Vila's mandibles twitched. A trap that waits. Yes. Before he could respond, another ship vanished. This time closer. Too close. A heavy cruiser, packed with elite troops, crossed an unseen threshold and ceased to exist. The shockwave never came. Silence followed instead. Morale collapsed. Across the fleet, captains shouted for orders. Crews prayed to forgotten gods. Weapons officers begged permission to fire at anything, anywhere. Hold formation. Vila roared. No independent action. But fear spreads faster than commands. One frigate attempted a blind jump. Its engines ignited, space warped, and the ship folded inward like paper, crushed into nothing. The containment field tightened. On Earth, Director Samuel Hayes watched the same events through filtered data streams. No live visuals. Humanity never looked directly at what it built. Some things were safer seen only through numbers. Phase stability. Hayes asked. Nominal, replied the operator. They're reacting exactly as predicted. Hayes exhaled slowly. Humanity had debated this moment for decades. Whether to activate. Whether to reveal the truth. Whether survival justified becoming something the galaxy feared. But the Ravik's Dominion had made the choice for them. They still think in terms of weapons, Hayes said. They don't understand boundaries. In orbit, Vila demanded a channel to Earth. The human appeared again. Calm. Unarmed. Unafraid. You are committing an act of war beyond comprehension, Vila said. Release my fleet, and we may yet. There is no negotiation, Hayes replied evenly. Only consequences. You think this cage makes you powerful? No, Hayes said. It makes us safe. Vila leaned forward. Then you will die alone. When the galaxy learns what you are. The galaxy already knew, Hayes interrupted. You just didn't listen. The transmission cut. Vila turned to his second-in-command. Send a message to Dominion High Command. Full emergency. Priority red. The officer hesitated. Commander, we can't. What? The signal won't leave. Nothing does. Vila felt something crack inside him. The Ravik's Dominion had never been isolated. Never cut off. They were the ones who surrounded worlds. Who controlled exits. Who decided fates. Now they were the ones inside the circle. More ships vanished. Not randomly. Carefully. Like pieces removed from a board. Pattern analysis. Vila demanded. They're selecting targets, the tactical officer said. Command ships first. Logistics next. They're thinning us. Vila understood then. This wasn't revenge. It was pruning. On Earth, Admiral Elena Cross stood in a chamber deep below the surface, watching projections of the containment field. The planet itself was part of the system. Oceans. Mantle. Magnetic lines. Earth was the anchor. They're learning, one analyst said. Elena nodded. Too late. Humanity had never matched alien empires ship for ship. Instead, they asked a different question. What if space itself could say no? Long before first contact, humans had experimented with gravity wells, dark energy, and folded dimensions. Not as weapons. As shields. As doors that only opened one way. Earth was never undefended. It was hidden in plain sight. Back in orbit, Vila ordered all remaining ships to power down weapons. If the field reacts to movement, he said, we stay still. For a moment, the vanishings stopped. Hope flickered. Then the field changed. Space inside the containment zone began to rotate. Not visibly. Not violently. Just enough to cause drift. Ships touched invisible boundaries without moving an engine. One by one, they disappeared. Screams echoed across open channels before silence swallowed them. Vila realized the truth with horrifying clarity. The field did not need them to move. It could move space itself. This is extermination, he whispered. No, came a quiet voice behind him. Vila turned sharply. A hologram shimmered into existence on the bridge. Not Hayes. Someone else. A human woman, older, her expression heavy with something close to regret. I'm Dr. Myra Solace, she said. One of the architects. Vila snarled. Then you are a monster. She nodded once. Maybe. Why? Vila demanded. Why build this? Myra looked at the stars beyond the bridge windows. Because long before you arrived, we asked ourselves a question. She met his eyes. What happens when someone stronger decides we don't deserve to exist? Vila said nothing. We didn't want to win wars, she continued. We wanted to survive them. Another ship vanished. Your fleet crossed our line, Myra said softly. Everything inside that line becomes contained. Where are my soldiers? Vila asked hoarsely. Alive, she said. Time dilated. Observed. Learning. Vila's voice broke. You could end us all. Yes, Myra agreed. But we won't. Why not? Because someone has to remember, she said. Someone has to go back and tell the galaxy what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. The hologram faded. Vila collapsed into his command chair. Outside, the Ravix fleet continued to shrink. Not fast. Not slow. Precisely. And across the galaxy, no signal came from the armada that had once surrounded Earth. Only silence. And silence, humanity knew, could be the loudest warning of all. Silence became the Ravix fleet's enemy. Not the silence of empty space. This was heavier. Pressing. As if the universe itself was watching. Supreme Commander Vila Cohen no longer tried to count the losses. The tactical display could not keep up. Icons faded in clusters, then whole sections of the fleet map went dark. No explosions. No final transmissions. Just removal. "They're not killing us," whispered an officer. "They're sorting us." Vila did not correct him. He felt it too. The containment field had changed again. Space no longer behaved as a stable grid. Distances stretched, then collapsed. Two ships drifting meters apart appeared light-years separated on sensors. Time markers slipped. Chronometers disagreed. "Commander," the science officer said, voice shaking. "Our internal clocks are desynchronizing." Vila's mandibles clenched. "Explain." "Local time is no longer uniform," she said. "Different regions of the fleet are experiencing different flow rates." Vila understood the implication instantly. They were being managed. On Earth, Director Hayes watched probability curves settle into narrow bands. The system was performing exactly as designed. "Any unexpected deviations?" he asked. "No," replied the analyst. "They're still trying to think their way out with force." Hayes nodded. "They always do." Humanity had learned something early in its history. Strength invited challenge. Weapons invited escalation. But environment decided outcomes. You didn't fight a storm. You didn't threaten gravity. You adapted, or you vanished. Deep beneath Earth's crust, the planetary lattice hummed softly. It was not a machine in the traditional sense. It had no single control center, no master switch. It was distributed, layered, redundant beyond comprehension. Built by humans who assumed failure as the default. Back in orbit, a Ravix destroyer fired its main cannon in desperation. The energy beam crossed a boundary and folded inward, swallowed by empty space. The weapon never reached its target. The destroyer vanished seconds later. Vila stood slowly. "Open all channels," he ordered. "Fleet-wide." Static crackled. Many ships were already gone. Others answered with overlapping signals, panic bleeding through discipline. "This is Supreme Commander Vila Coyn," he said. "Cease all independent action. Power down weapons. Shut down engines. We survive by stillness." Some obeyed. Some did not. Those who did not were erased. Minutes passed. Or hours. Vila could no longer tell. Finally, a reply came through the channel. "Not human. Ravix. A captain. Old. Veteran." Her voice carried exhaustion. "Commander," she said, "we have studied our archives." Vila closed his eyes. "Go on." "There are myths," she continued. "Stories from before the Dominion. Of a species that never expanded. Never competed. Never claimed territory." Vila's throat tightened. "They built walls instead," the captain said. "Invisible ones." Vila remembered the warning his predecessors had dismissed as superstition. "If you find them, leave." "We are inside one of those stories," the captain said softly. The channel went dead. Another section of the fleet vanished. On Earth, Admiral Elena Cross walked through the underground command complex. Screens lined the walls, displaying abstract representations of the containment zones. No images. No faces. "Civilian impact?" she asked. "Zero," replied an aide. "They can't see it. Can't feel it. Earth remains untouched." Elena nodded. That had been non-negotiable. Humanity would not survive by becoming careless gods. "Any change in alien behavior?" she asked. They're learning restraint, the aide said. Too late. Elena paused, then asked the question she hated most. Casualties? None confirmed, the aide replied. All removed vessels are held in stable pockets. Life support maintained. Time dilation active. Elena exhaled slowly. Good. She did not celebrate. This was not victory. It was necessity. Above Earth, Vila felt the cage tighten further. Space curved inward, compressing the remaining fleet into smaller volumes. Ships brushed boundaries without moving. He opened a channel to Earth again. This time, the response came immediately. Dr. Myra Solis appeared. You're running out of options, Vila said quietly. Myra nodded. We know. End this, Vila said. You've proven your point. This was never about proving anything, she replied. It was about making sure you understood. Understood what? That conquest has a cost, she said. And sometimes, the cost is you. Vila's voice dropped. What happens to us? Myra was silent for a moment. Those who remain will be released, she said. Eventually. Far from here. With memories intact. And the rest? They will observe, Myra said. Learn. Time will pass differently for them. Vila laughed weakly. You turn soldiers into witnesses. Yes, she said. Stories travel faster than fleets. The transmission ended. Vila looked around his bridge. His crew avoided his gaze. Fear had stripped away arrogance, leaving only exhaustion. How many ships left? He asked. Less than 500, whispered the tactical officer. Out of 12,000. Vila straightened his uniform. Record everything, he ordered. Every detail. Every reading. Every moment. For what purpose? An officer asked. So the galaxy believes us, Vila said. The containment field shifted again. This time, it opened. A corridor appeared in space. Not a path forward, but a way. Coordinates flooded the navigation systems. A single exit. The message was clear. Leave. One by one, the remaining Ravix ships drifted into the corridor. No engines. No weapons. Just surrender to the flow. As each ship crossed the threshold, the pressure vanished. Space returned to normal. Time stabilized. When the last Ravix vessel escaped, Earth's sky looked unchanged. No debris. No scars. No monuments. Just clouds and oceans and quiet cities. Deep below, systems powered down. The lattice returned to dormancy. Humanity did not chase. Did not pursue. Did not claim territory. They closed the door. Far across the galaxy, the surviving Ravix fleet emerged in a distant, empty region of space. Broken. Scarred. Alive. Vila Karen stood on the bridge of what remained of his command ship and stared into the stars. We were wrong, he said quietly. The galaxy would hear that sentence again and again in the years to come. From traders. From refugees. From conquerors who suddenly chose another path. Because Earth had not destroyed an armada. It had taught the universe where not to go. And some lessons could not be unlearned. The galaxy did not change overnight. At first, no one believed the Ravix survivors. When the battered remnants of the Dominion fleet limped into neutral space, their arrival caused confusion, not fear. Their ships carried no trophies. No prisoners. No captured technology. Only damage reports that made no sense and sensor logs filled with contradictions. Space folding inward. Time flowing unevenly. Ships vanishing without violence. Older civilizations listened more carefully than younger ones. Some recognized patterns buried deep in forgotten archives. Some remembered warnings their ancestors had chosen to ignore. Do not provoke the patient ones. But many did not. Powerful empires do not collapse because of caution. They collapse because they believe themselves immune to consequences. On Earth, life went on. Cities remained loud. Children went to school. Ships launched from spaceports as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Humanity did not announce its victory. There were no broadcasts to the stars. No declarations of supremacy. Only silence. That silence unsettled those who watched Earth from afar. In underground chambers beneath the planet, however, discussions were tense and uncelebratory. "They will test us again," Admiral Elena Cross said quietly. "They always do," Director Hayes replied. Around them sat scientists, military leaders, and observers from every major human coalition. None looked triumphant. They looked tired. "We've shown the line," Hayes continued. "Now we have to decide how hard it is." Dr. Myra Solis stood near the back, hands clasped behind her. "The system performed within tolerances," she said. "But the lattice wasn't designed to activate repeatedly." "How many more times?" Elena asked. Myra hesitated. "Once. Maybe twice. After that, the strain becomes unpredictable." Silence fell over the room. Humanity had never planned to police the galaxy. They had only planned to survive first contact. But survival had a way of turning into responsibility. Far from Earth, in a region of space untouched by major powers, the Ravik survivors gathered what remained of their command structure. Supreme Commander Vila Kewen no longer wore ceremonial armor. He stood in a simple uniform before a council that had once ruled through fear. "We must warn them," one commander said. "All of them." "They won't listen," another replied bitterly. "We never did." Vila spoke slowly, each word heavy. "Then we make them listen." "How?" "By changing," Vila said. The council stared at him. "We stop conquering," he continued. "We stop surrounding worlds. We stop taking." A murmur of disbelief spread through the chamber. "That is who we are," one officer protested. Vila shook his head. "That is who we were." He activated a display, showing a simple star map. A single region glowed faintly. "This," Vila said, "is where the line is." Weeks passed. Then months. The first test came not from an empire, but from a coalition of minor powers who had never fought humanity directly. They saw Earth's silence as weakness. They believed the Raviks had exaggerated their defeat to hide failure. A fleet entered the Sol system. Not 12,000 ships. Only 300. Enough, they thought. On Earth, sensors detected the intrusion instantly. Admiral Elena Cross closed her eyes for a moment. "They didn't ask," an aide said. "No," Elena replied. "They never do." The fleet crossed the invisible boundary. This time, the lattice did not fully activate. Only a fraction of it. Space rippled gently. Engines failed. Navigation collapsed. The alien ships drifted helplessly, trapped but unharmed. A single human transmission reached them. "You have crossed a protected boundary," the message said. "Remain still. You will be released." Fear spread through the invading fleet faster than panic ever had. They waited. Hours later, the boundary opened. The ships were pushed back into open space, intact. No losses. No punishment. Only understanding. The message spread quickly. Earth did not destroy every fleet. Only those that came to conquer. The galaxy began to adjust. Trade routes shifted. Borders redrew themselves around invisible lines. Empires that once expanded endlessly began investing inward. Defense replaced aggression. Observation replaced invasion. Earth became a reference point. Not a capital. Not a ruler. A boundary. Deep beneath the Pacific, systems rested again. Their power dimmed but did not vanish. Humanity did not dismantle what it had built. Some doors were better left closed but ready. In a quiet moment, Director Hayes stood alone in the control chamber, watching the planet rotate beneath him. "We're still human," he said softly. Dr. Myra Solis joined him. "That's what scares them most." Hayes smiled faintly. "Good." Above Earth, stars continued to shine, indifferent to borders and warnings. But the galaxy was no longer the same. Because somewhere out there, Every ambitious commander now asked the same question before ordering an advance. What if this world has learned how to say no? And sometimes, that question was enough. Years passed. Not quietly, but carefully. The galaxy did not forget Earth. It simply learned to look at it differently. Where once it had seen a soft world, young and divided, it now saw a place defined by absence. No fleets stationed at its borders. No demands issued. No alliances forced. Just a line that no one crossed twice. On Earth, humanity returned to what it did best after surviving disaster. Arguing, rebuilding, questioning itself. The activation of the lattice became the most debated moment in human history. Some called it salvation. Others called it the beginning of something dangerous. What happens, people asked, when the wall becomes a temptation? Admiral Elena Cross asked herself that question every morning. She stood in the same underground chamber, older now, lines etched deeper into her face. The systems beneath the planet still slept, but they were no longer theoretical. They were real, proven, and power, once revealed, never truly hides again. Status report, she said. Galaxy traffic remains stable, an aide replied. No hostile formations approaching Sol. Any signals? The aide hesitated. Yes. 1. Elena stiffened. From who? The display lit up with unfamiliar symbols. Not Ravix. Not anyone recorded. They call themselves the Aurelian Concord, the aide said. They're ancient. Very ancient. Elena nodded slowly. Put them through. The figure that appeared on the screen did not resemble the usual shapes of known species. Its form seemed fluid, held together by light and shadow. Its voice carried depth, like many voices speaking as one. We acknowledge you, humanity, it said. You have done what many could not. Elena kept her voice steady. Say what you came to say. The Aurelian presence pulsed faintly. You built a boundary without claiming dominion. You wielded power without hunger. That is rare. Elena said nothing. There are others like you, the entity continued. Or there were. Most did not survive their first contact. A chill passed through the chamber. You are not the strongest species, the Concord said. But you are the most restrained. Elena folded her hands. What do you want? To warn you, the entity replied. There are forces beyond this galaxy that do not conquer worlds. They consume realities. Your lattice has attracted attention. Elena felt the weight of the words settle. How long? She asked. Time is relative, the Concord said. But preparation is possible. The transmission ended. Deep beneath Earth's surface, systems stirred slightly. Not awakening. Listening. Humanity gathered again, as it always had in moments of uncertainty. Scientists. Soldiers. Philosophers. Engineers. People who disagreed on everything except one truth. They were still here. Director Hayes addressed the assembly one last time before retiring. We didn't build the lattice to dominate the stars, he said. We built it because we were afraid. Some nodded. Some frowned. But fear made us patient, Hayes continued. And patience made us clever. If something comes that even this can't stop, then we adapt again. Dr. Myra Solis stood beside him. The lattice is not the end, she said. It's a conversation. With the universe. Above them all, Earth turned peacefully. Blue. Alive. Ordinary. Far away, stories spread. Of fleets that vanished. Of a world that did not chase power. Of a species that waited. Young civilizations grew up hearing a new lesson, taught not by conquest, but by absence. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Do not assume patience means fear. And never surround a world that has learned how to say no. Because humanity did not shout its strength into the void. It simply drew a line. And the universe, at last, learned to respect it.